Another episode of the Chips podcast, not in our WERW studios. We're back over Zoom. Tyler Melito joined, as always, by Ryan Amick. This is going to be a shorter episode because COVID-19 has forced us out of the studios for the time being. But there are some sports things we got to talk about, Ryan, mainly and only in this show, the NBA Finals, since that wrapped up on Sunday.
Yeah, and I was going to say, we're back to our kind of usual format, even though we're not, because usually we used to be in the studio, but with everything that's happened this whole year, the majority of our shows, I believe, have been over Zoom. So we're kind of back to the old stomping ground in that sense.
Back to our roots.
Oh, yeah, we're a very flexible show here. We'll either go in studio, go over Zoom. We'll make it work either way, especially when we're talking about the NBA Finals, which concluded last night. Big news in basketball. This long season has finally ended. The longest reigning NBA champions in history in the Toronto Raptors have finally lost their crown to the King and the Los Angeles Lakers, who won their 17th title in franchise history. LeBron earning his 4th MVP in the finals. He's got 4 titles, 4 finals MVPs, 4 regular season MVPs. I mean, what else? So many more accolades I could go on and on about, but those are the 4s for him, and he just keeps on going. I mean, this is definitely not the cap. He's definitely reached his peak, but he is not slowing down much. He is maintaining his peak up into his age 35 season, winning titles for this franchise. 2 years after coming to LA, promising to get this team a championship after 10 years of no titles. To the entitled Lakers fans who think that they should get a title every 10 years, he ended your dry spell, quote unquote. But hey, you hadn't made the playoffs in 6 years prior, so at least there's something new there. But yeah, LeBron getting it done as he so usually does, and a lot of the help obviously goes to Anthony Davis, who they got in the offseason. What a big finals he had in his first showing in the NBA Finals.
Indeed, it was. Anthony Davis balled out, and you mentioned how my drought has come to an end. I'm going back to the text you sent me because I found it very funny.
Getting the receipts out.
Because I found it very funny. You wish me congratulations, so thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And now here we are. You're a Knicks fan. You're just going to be waiting. I can't find it. Hang on. Where is it?
Also, while you're looking for this, a funny thing I actually found on the internet, every new decade, the Lakers win a title. 2020 champions, 2010 champions, 2000 champions, 1990 champion. Or no, not 1990. That was the Pistons. They were in the finals, but they lost. Pistons. 1980. I believe they won. Yes, that was with Magic Johnson.
Yes.
So, like, every new decade, they win a title. So, look for 2030. They should be the favorites.
I can wait for that. You said congrats to me, and then I said thank you very much. It's long overdue. And as a Knicks fan for you, don't worry. Y'all will get one hopefully in the next 100 years, which honestly I don't think is going to happen, but neither here nor there. I just figured I'd bring that up, rub it in. You mentioned LeBron James and his 4 finals MVPs, 4 NBA championships, 4 regular season MVPs. I found it funny also, he tweeted out a picture that said 444, and Wendy's responded, like retweeted it. I don't know if you saw your order at Wendy's, which I found very funny. Also, Anthony Davis. I mean, I guess he was a missing piece. And my question is for you, is he the best teammate LeBron James has ever had?
Hands down. Literally hands down. Because this is also one of the only real teammates of LeBron that's challenged him for finals MVP. I mean, most of the time when LeBron's in the finals, he's favored for MVP, winning or losing. I mean, some of those Warriors Cavs series, LeBron was the best player in that series, despite them losing 3 of the 4 times they met in the finals. But yeah, LeBron had a real opponent in terms of MVP voting in Anthony Davis because he played so well, averaging over 25 and 10 on the series, about 2 blocks as well, efficient shooting, and coming in big moments as well. As we said, this is his first finals appearance, one of his only playoff appearances he's had in his career, aside from 1 or 2 stints with the Pelicans in his previous years. But Anthony Davis came through big, hitting a big clutch 3 in Game 4 that helped put the Lakers up 3-1. That was kind of the writing on the wall. For the Heat, though, give them credit. They fought hard. They came back in Game 5, edged it a little bit, gave the Lakers something to worry about. They took care of business in Game 6, but nonetheless, you can't knock the Heat for the effort they had. And going back to the Anthony Davis point I was making, boy, was he big for them, a big presence, kind of negating Bam Adebayo's effect as well, because he did not have the type of series he had since, like, comparing to other series he's had, like in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Celtics, where he was just dominant.
Yeah, and partially the injury didn't help for Bam Adebayo. He got hurt game one with the shoulder neck injury. I'm really curious as to what exactly that injury was. He missed a couple games, came back game four, played solid, and also the Heat, they didn't have Goran Dragic, which when he's your team's leading scorer in the playoffs, that hurt. He tried to make a comeback in game six, but really wasn't himself. But I will say kudos to the Miami Heat as well. They had that never give up, never say die attitude, and that all started with Jimmy Butler, who basically willed this team to even 6 games. I think after game 1 and 2 when the Lakers won, I and everyone else thought that, okay, this series is over. Maybe the Heat will do what the Cavs did against the Warriors a couple years ago, get one and then just basically fall over and die and not win. But they made it competitive for the most part. It was a 4-point game, or excuse me, 6-point game in game 4. The Heat almost won that game. They lost. The Lakers won games 1 and 2 by blowouts, lost game 3, nearly lost game 4, lost game 5. So imagine if that game 4 went 2-2. If things were 2-2 on that game 4, that was a completely different series. That was a turning point, and the Lakers knew that 100%. So the fact that they were able to recognize that and just get into another gear, props to them. But the Heat, top to bottom, they played hard. And I think this is a great experience for them. They are the most proven team, I think, in this Eastern Conference now. And I think they are now the odds-on favorite to win the Eastern Conference next year.
Yeah, the Heat, their heart and their playing style are what really kept them in this series because especially after game 2, 2 consecutive blowouts, the Lakers were up big. At that point, Bam Adebayo and Goran Dragic were out for game 3 with injuries. So by game 3, it could have been Lakers win, go up 3-0, and the series is pretty much over at that point. But the Heat, mainly Jimmy Butler, fought back, had a huge game 3. Looking at Jimmy Butler's game 3, that was when he scored 40 points and got a triple-double, willing his team as he was the lone playmaker on that team, going head-to-head with LeBron, too, and just winning that matchup. So that just shows you how big a series this was for Butler. And also, looking at Butler, was this a bigger win for him, arguably, in terms of the long term, because what this did for the respect he's going to get throughout the league, and also in terms of the Dortmund deals, he's a free agent in terms of sneaker business now. So having a huge finals like this is going to be very nice for him in that sense. Also, looking ahead the next year, 2021, that offseason, a lot of free agents will be on the market. So having a big, strong finals like this give players hope in a couple off seasons when they're looking for free agents. If they want another star, just show them Jimmy Butler highlight tapes from the finals, and that should be convincing enough. So this is big for the Heat in the sense of the long term. So I asked you, Tyler, I kind of foreshadowed this question. Was this arguably a bigger win for Butler in this series, considering how much he did for his reputation?
I think from a reputation standpoint, yes, because he did have that kind of reputation of very solid player, an all-star caliber player, but really couldn't take a team to the next level, couldn't be the number one guy on a team. And this season, he proved that with this core of young players in Miami, that he could lead a team. And maybe that speaks more to the quality of young guys on his other teams, whether it be Minnesota with Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins, Philadelphia with Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. If Jimmy can lead this group of Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Duncan Robinson, etc. Sure, there were other veterans on this squad, but there were also other veterans on those other teams he were on. So maybe that speaks more to the quality of player that Simmons, Embiid, Wiggins, Towns, etc. are, and maybe they're not as built for this. And also just from a brand standpoint, like you mentioned, Jimmy Butler showed a new side of him that I guess a lot of people and casual NBA fans might not have seen before, and I think it would be good for him. And I'm going to be completely honest here. I think the Heat have already wooed Giannis Antetokounmpo to come to their team in 2021. There were already rumblings of, okay, the Heat have the space. This is Miami. Giannis will probably leave. With this performance this postseason, beating the Bucks convincingly. Sure, Giannis didn't play the whole series, but convincingly, and then doing this in the finals, I think Giannis is a surefire thing that he's going to Miami at this point.
Yeah, that's how big this finals was for the Heat. If you're a Heat fan, don't get too upset. Obviously, it stings right now. Former star and LeBron, who used to rep the Heat jersey, comes back in a Laker uniform, beats you in the finals. Obviously, it stings at the moment, but like we've said, and like you just pointed out, what Butler and the Heat team did as a whole in this finals fighting the entire time, making it go 6 games, making it very competitive, having big performances from Jimmy Butler, record-breaking performances from Jimmy Butler throughout the finals, throughout the postseason, excuse me. This was huge for them, and in the long term, it should pay dividends. Looking at the champions, though, Lakers did get it done with a victory in Game 6, a blowout from top to bottom. I mean, you could just tell LeBron and AD were trying to finish this series last night, and that they did.
Heat were also gassed, to be fair.
Yeah,
They were gassed. You saw it. Jimmy only had 12 points.
Yeah, that was definitely Jimmy Butler's worst game, and you can't have that in a do or die situation. So that's why Lakers came out on top in this one. But also, they got a lot of help from some of their secondary options. Obviously, LeBron and AD at the helm, but guys like KCP, playoff Rondo, even Kyle Kuzma were pretty big for the Lakers. Also, got like Alex Caruso, who they put in the starting lineup. First time
bold move.
Starting in a playoff game, very bold move, and ended up paying out. So, Tyler, who do you think throughout this series, throughout the finals, who was the best third option for the Lakers?
I mean, I would have to say Rondo because, I mean, the expectation is going to be Kuzma, Green, Caruso, or KCP from a scoring standpoint. But look at Rondo's game logs for this NBA Finals. Game 1, he had 7 points, 4 assists. Game 2, 16 points, 10 assists. Game 3, 4 points, 5 assists. Game 4, 2 points, 5 assists, 7 rebounds. He had 8 rebounds, by the way, in Game 3. Game 5, 4 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and then the clinching Game 6, 19 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Sure, those aren't eye-popping numbers, but the reason why I read them is because Rondo is still a threat, I guess to say, to make plays, and he is a guy who could just dribble the ball up and run an offense. That is why LeBron James was so happy they brought Rondo in as a playmaker prior to the 2018-2019 season, because Rondo has this ability to lead an offense when LeBron James is on the bench. And I honestly think that Rondo has cemented his spot in the Hall of Fame. He's the first person ever to win a finals with the Lakers and the Celtics. He's now got 2 championships, and he's just proven that he is a guy that is worthy of that quality. Maybe not first ballot Hall of Famer, but mark my words, Rajon Rondo will be a Hall of Famer when it's all said and done.
This is definitely a legacy booster for Rondo. Look at his career, as you said, second title. He's got 4 All-Star game appearances, assist leader 3 times. So, like, the accolades are there, the stats are there. Everyone knows how Rondo plays, and he plays very good when it comes to playoff time. Even in past years, when he was on the Bulls that one season, he was arguably their best player and almost got them to the next round.
New Orleans,
when they upset the Trailblazers, he was a major factor in that series. And obviously comes to the Lakers, misses the first part of the playoffs with an injury, then comes back, and you really saw the impact he had on the team once he came back, especially in the finals. Had his best game in Game 6 as well, 19 points, playing lockdown defense, hitting threes as well. He shot, 38% from the field, 33% from 3 in the series. So pretty good shooting splits for Rondo, who's not known as a score-first type of guy. He's more known for his passing. He got 5 assists in this series. He was the primary ball handler when LeBron was on the bench. Gave him much needed rest, which is the real reason he was brought on this team, especially for the bench unit. He came up big for them. So I would agree with you. I think Rondo was the third best option for the Lakers during the series. But also shout out to KCP for all the hate he's gotten throughout his years. He was a big reason why the Lakers won the title. He played great defense as well. He was shooting much better than he's been accustomed to. He's only other player on the team other than Anthony Davis and LeBron to average double digits in the finals. So he had a very big series, and he earned a lot of respect, especially from his own fan base, who was just known to clown him for the struggles he's had in the past. They've kind of moved on to Kyle Kuzma and Danny Green's territory, because KCP has shown them, don't mess with me. I could actually get buckets for this team. I can play lockdown defense, and I can be a difference maker, which he was throughout the whole series. So the Lakers obviously came up big. LeBron and Anthony Davis played out of their minds, but the third, fourth, fifth option, guys on the bench coming up, playing big minutes, they did their job. They knew their role, and that's a big reason why the Lakers came up with their 17th title, tying the Celtics for the all-time NBA lead in championships. So looking a little more at the Lakers, we just mentioned KCP and Rondo. They're upcoming free agents this year. So along with JaVale McGee, Avery Bradley, and of course Anthony Davis, who has a player option. He most likely will decline it for financial reasons, then
Get
look
this
for
big
a
contract.
long what?
He'll probably get a big contract.
Yeah. He's not getting enough this year, so he'll most likely decline his player option, but he'll get a contract with the Lakers. So that's not one of their main free agents. But guys like KCP and Rondo, who had big finals, they're free agents now. So should the Lakers look to re-sign them?
I would say so. I mean, you got to keep this core together, but I think they also got to think long term. Rondo's getting up there in age. KCP is approaching 30. I don't think he's there yet. And you got to look at 2021. There is a possibility where they can get Giannis Antetokounmpo. So you got to set themselves up nicely. I think it's probably not going to be any long-term deals. It's probably going to be a lot of 1 to 2 year deals for those guys. Just be like, we want to keep you long-term, but hey, we got to keep our financial cap low.
Yeah, I'd agree with Rondo in that sense. Don't really want to sign him up long term. He's towards the back end of his career. KCP though, I think they should give him a look. Don't overpay him. Obviously, he should be getting around maybe 10 mil a year at the most as a role player for this team. But as a role, he's played such a big role for this team when he's hitting his shots and he's playing defense like he's done in years past, especially with the Pistons, where that's where the Lakers got him from. He was a very good 3-and-D guy on the Pistons. Kind of had a little rough patch in his start with the Lakers, but ever since, as we mentioned, has improved, showed the doubters wrong, had a big series. So I think KCP should be someone that they look forward to signing for a couple more years, especially with the ties to Clutch Sports and LeBron. They have a good relationship there, so keep that intact. Sign KCP to a reasonable deal, and I think that should be good enough for the Lakers this offseason. Don't need to make that many changes, especially when you win a title. So looking very minimal for the Lakers. But then you look at the Heat, they also don't have too many huge free agents up. Dragic is one of them they should definitely consider. He might be getting paid a lot, so if you're trying to save cap for guys like Giannis or whoever in the next offseason, maybe move on from Dragic. But he was a big part of their not their finals, but their playoffs in general. He was one of the top scorers on their offense and was one of the best players on their team. So Dragic, he's one of their free agents. Then you have guys like Jay Crowder, Kelly Olynyk, and Myers Leonard hitting free agency. So not too many huge names for the Heat going forward. You're mainly looking forward, if you're a Heat fan, to the 2021 offseason and also just the 2020 season and what you guys can do to upgrade even the great season you had this year. Because they had very low expectations coming into this year. Not many people thought –
they weren't expecting to go to the finals, but I still think they were expecting
to make the playoffs, but not. I don't think many people had them going to the finals at the start of the year.
Oh, not many. At least outside of Miami. One other point. I know we said we were only going to talk about basketball, but breaking news. I just got a thing. Dustin Johnson, world #1 golfer, tested positive for COVID-19, so he's not going to be playing this week. I just figured to get that there. Also, Cristiano Ronaldo tested positive. We are a sports show. I figured we'd mention that.
Yeah,
those are a couple big things.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the topic of the Heat, I think they got to look for 2021 at this point. And I think their players know that. I think a lot of their core. So Dragic, he might take a more team-friendly deal as a means to get himself a championship if that means, hey, we have a better chance of signing arguably a top 3 player in the NBA and Giannis Antetokounmpo, maybe even the best player in the NBA, or whoever that is, maybe Kawhi Leonard or Paul George, or I don't know if they want Paul George to the Heat, but you get what I'm saying, a big name free agent in 2 summers.
Yeah, a lot
because I guess this offseason is going to be in the winter.
Yeah, and it's going to be very brief probably as well. So a lot to look forward to if you're a Heat fan. Also, obviously, if you're a Laker fan, because they're one of the favorites to win next year. Looking at some of the 2021 finals predictions, some of the odds so far, the Lakers are the favorites at plus 375, followed by the Clippers, Bucks, Warriors. Don't forget about the Warriors. Sure, they were the worst team in the league this year, but they will be one of the best teams in the league by next year, easily.
Oh, yeah.
And then followed by Nets, Celtics, Heat, pretty low for a team that just made the finals.
But look at the
8th team on this list. Then the Raptors, Rockets, and Nuggets round it off. So
look at the teams on the Warriors. Steph Curry missed basically the entire season. Klay Thompson did miss the entire season. Draymond Green was in and out of the lineup, not himself. So now you get those 3 guys back, plus Andrew Wiggins, and plus some nice young pieces like an Eric Pascal, who showed out this year, and other guys. Then you have Brooklyn, who Kyrie Irving missed the majority of the season. KD missed the entire season, so you're going to have those guys coming back. So it's going to be a tougher road for both the Lakers and the Heat to get back. Plus, you have the Celtics, who are still getting better. The Raptors are still a very solid team. The Clippers, I don't know what the heck's going on there. That's a separate issue. They got to find a new coach. Philadelphia, they now have Doc Rivers as head coach. I think he could be a great influence on Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. The list just goes on and on. So it should make a very fun 2021 NBA season. Now it's just a matter of when that season will start. I think they were originally eyeing January 1st, but here we are on October 13th. If they were to go January 1st, that means they'd have to start preseason middle of December. I would honestly think they'll probably start Martin Luther King Day.
Yeah.
2-week training camp starting January 1.
Yeah, because the draft originally was supposed to be in October. I think that got moved to December. So if you don't even have a draft till December, you really can't have a regular season.
I thought the draft would be later this month.
Oh, it is?
I think so.
I remember originally the start date was supposed to be around
November 18th.
November?
Yeah. So
November 18th. So
we're both 1 month too late. I was 1 month too early.
Yeah. We met in the middle. November. That should give them 2 months from the draft. If they could get a regular season going, I think that could work. But yeah, just looking at some of the teams again, I think the Lakers could easily go back to the finals.
Oh yeah.
They at the moment, I'd say they're my favorites to come out of the West. What about the East for you? I want to hear what you have to say out of the East because I know who I'm saying.
I don't have any faith in the Bucks. I don't think Miami, sure they did it this year, but I don't think they'll do it this year. Maybe 2021 if they get a big name free agent. Toronto is someone you got to watch for. Boston you got to watch for. I'm going to go with Brooklyn. I think the return of KD and Kyrie could be enough. I know you wanted me to say the Knicks, but I'm not going to pick the Knicks at all. I think Brooklyn, if KD and Kyrie can play together and not let their egos get the better of each other, they are by far the most talented team in the Eastern Conference because they got 2 top 15 players, maybe even top 10. So it'll be interesting. Also, though, Kevin Durant, he is coming off the Achilles injury, so it'll be interesting to see. He'll get a little bit more rest because the season won't start until January, most likely, instead of starting in October. So it will be interesting to see, though, how he comes off of that injury if he plays a little bit more gingerly, if you will. But what do you think?
Well, I was kind of hoping you would say the Nets, not the Knicks, because I'm saying the Nets.
Oh,
the Nets.
Great minds think alike.
On paper, the Nets are the best team in the East. We're looking at the straight talent and roster. Not only do they have the top 2 players arguably in the Eastern Conference, I wouldn't say that much about Kyrie, but KD can definitely make the argument is the best player in the East. Kyrie's a great number 2. We saw with his stint with the Cavs. Playing number 2 to LeBron, they won a title. So playing number 2 to KD, I don't see why they can't. Then you look at guys on their roster like Spencer Dinwiddie, who could score 20 points when they ask him to. Sure, he's not going to score 20 points next year with KD and Kyrie holding the ball a lot. And also like Karis LeVert, who will be probably their 3rd primary scorer. But guys like Spencer Dinwiddie, who can play a Rondo role where they could score and make off the bench when they need to, when the stars need a break. Having guys like that play a huge role. Defense isn't the same as Rondo, but in terms of playmaking off the bench, there's a big comparison there. And Jarrett Allen, who looks to take another step up, he's a rim protector who could go up against the likes of an Anthony Davis maybe in a matchup or a Bam Adebayo, just thinking of bigs in possible finals matchups. I mean, having a big anchor on defense like that is huge for a team with playoff aspirations and finals aspirations. The coach is still a question mark. We still don't know who's going to coach the Brooklyn Nets.
Steve Nash.
Steve Nash. Never mind. We do know who's going to coach the Brooklyn Nets, and that is Steve Nash, which is also a big thing for the Nets because he's mainly there for chemistry and also just to stay on KD and Kyrie's good side because they trust him. KD's worked with Steve Nash in the past, and as they know, KD has a similar effect to LeBron in that he kind of controls his team and what he says goes. So no matter who you put at coach, KD's still kind of running the entire team. So just get someone that KD and Kyrie gel with. They did that with Steve Nash. They have playmakers all throughout that lineup. Solid pieces, like I mentioned with Jarrett Allen, Spencer Dinwiddie, Karis LeVert. This team is very deep. I like their chances, especially look at the Bucks. They've choked 2 postseasons in a row in the conference finals and then the second round this year. The Raptors, they played decent this year without Kawhi. The kind of Pascal Siakam kind of got exposed a little bit in the postseason, though, for being kind of one-dimensional, especially on the offensive end. So the Raptors aren't in great suits right now. The Heat, it's hard to go back to the championship, especially after this year. They easily could have missed out on the championship. I mean, they had a great series against the Bucks, but the Heat, it'll be hard to go back-to-back. I wouldn't give up on them, but I'm just saying, in terms of the Eastern Conference,
it's going to be a tough road.
It's going to be tough, yeah. And we think it's going to be Nets Lakers in the finals is what I'm getting. That's a consensus between us.
And I think that's going to be a lot of people's picks for the most part. It's going to be Lakers versus either one of 4 or 5 teams in the East between Milwaukee, Miami, Toronto, Boston, or Brooklyn. I don't know who the Lakers' toughest competition is in the Western Conference. Houston, small ball doesn't work, clearly. The Clippers, they have their own issues. If they got to get their stars in their play, if they're all rolling, they're maybe the most talented team in the Western Conference, but they can't seem to get anyone rolling. And I don't think that load management works. It worked one year in Toronto because of the talent they had on that roster, but I don't think the talent they had in Toronto for Kawhi is the same they do in LA, despite having arguably better players. I think just it doesn't mesh as well. Denver, they're okay, I guess. They're still getting better. Portland, maybe Damian Lillard is Damian Lillard. Then you got Golden State. Maybe Golden State's their toughest competition for the Lakers, but that's even a stretch in my opinion.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. This should be a very interesting season coming up, given everything that's happened. But once again, Lakers finish this crazy season, finish off the bubble, and leave with a win. They spent almost 100 days in the bubble, and they came out as champions. So kudos to the Lakers ending their 10-year drought, tying the Celtics as one of the top franchises in NBA history in terms of championships. You got Tyler celebrating over here. So I think that's time for that to cut off on that. That's the note right there. But it's great. Thank you guys for listening. We're very excited to look forward to the next season of the NBA. Great finals to recap with LeBron, AD winning for the Lakers. Tyler, you got any more thoughts on this finals that just concluded last night?
Well, first of all, the finals concluded on Sunday, man. Get your calendar right. What are you talking about? It's Tuesday.
I thought it was Monday.
But overall, though, nothing on the finals themselves. But I think the bubble was a success. And I think if the league needs to do that again, it is a viable option. Obviously, they'll have to make some tweaks given the number of teams and the extent play. Maybe they do like bubbles, but like similar to what baseball's doing, they only play teams in their geological sphere and they have a couple bubbles and for time to time. But I think it worked out well. So maybe that's something in the future we'll see.
Yeah.
On that note, though, thank you all so much for listening. As Ryan was saying, we'll hopefully be back in our WERW studios next week. If you want to listen, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m., WERW Real College Radio. That's where you listen. But for now, you've been listening to the Chips Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. Ryan, I'll see you next week.
Have a great day.